Yeah.
They've even recut the Marvels into a new trailer now where they try to make it funny. And you can tell they're
Yeah.
piecing like completely separate parts of the movie to make it more.
Oh, you mean they
palatable.
finished reshooting it the third time or whatever the hell they're on?
Yeah, it might be
Probably.
like 4, honestly.
That's another Alonzo mess right there for sure.
But they can redo it real easy to make it a comedy. What they do is they have the opening credits for Miss Marvel, and then it switches to the last hour of Infinity War. And then as it goes to closing credits, it has all of Captain Marvel playing as just secret footage for the credits.
Well, no, what you could do is
even
just run 2 hours of Brie Larson getting decked by Thanos. Just loop that 30 seconds over and over again for 2 hours.
It's wild.
And I was like, there
It's
you
crazy
go.
how many people actually cheered for Thanos in that scene. It was so wild.
We all did. My kids did.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It was
We'll see
great.
how the Marvels does. I mean, with everything moving, it could, I don't know, pick up some kind of steam, I guess. What would you guys consider a complete disaster for the Marvels?
Well,
Global.
okay, here's the thing, Josh. I guess there's 2 reasonable measurements for this. There is the public perception, and then there's actuality, right? Financial reality. So you could say that kind of like Little Mermaid's a perfect example. Almost 600 million, I think, globally. Did about 300 million here domestically, or maybe it's 550. I got to go back and look. It may still be on this list. Let me see if it's still
Needed
buried.
800 million to break even.
That's the
Right,
problem.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
from a perception standpoint, right, you get to say that Little Mermaid was one of the biggest films of the year.
Sure.
And that would be true.
yeah.
But for the fact they probably spent, now the budget is listed at 250, which means that it's probably really 300. And that's in Disney numbers. It needed 800 million or probably thereabout, close to it. Once you factor in another $100 million easily for marketing, global marketing, you needed 800 million on it. They lost 100 million on the movie. They made 600.
Yeah.
They needed 800. They lost 100 after the theaters take their 50% cut.
And Barbie stole their PR excuse for that too.
And look, we predicted that last year. Me and Tom Connors over Midnight Suns, when we saw I said Little Mermaid could be a sleeper hit. If the first thing that we saw was just that part of your world, that 30-second clip
Yeah, that
of
was a good
Halle
clip, yeah.
Bailey, I was like, wow, she sounds good. Charismatically, she really, I mean, okay, they cast a black actress, but charismatically, I thought she was very charming. I've said
And
this
she's
before.
not bad looking either.
No,
Yeah,
she's
for
very
sure.
pretty. But they botched the whole movie. It was one of those things. All you had to do was give people what they expected, which is what 1989, make it a live action, and you're good. They didn't do that. So the perception is one of the biggest movies of the year. The reality is it lost money. It lost $100 million.
Yeah.
The Marvels. The Marvels could do, maybe the Marvels could do 400 million. 400 million would make it one of the biggest movies of the year, right?
Yeah.
It's the same shit. So in that regard, it's still going to lose, especially with all the reshoots. Especially with all the that's a $300 million movie right now, guaranteed.
And they are marketing it heavily. They haven't abandoned it, so they're fully behind.
They're going to dump their typical $100 to $150 million of marketing money into that
50
movie
for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking that movie's going to need realistically in theaters 800 to 900
Yeah.
to
that
break
makes
even.
sense.
And again, here's the other part of it, Josh, is that years ago, like the first Guardians movie, because after we found out what it really cost to make, the first Guardians movie absolutely lost money in the theaters.
Interesting.
But people loved it.
Yeah.
They bought $100 million worth of physical media of it around the globe. And then Disney was licensing that sucker out to Netflix. They were making hundreds of millions of dollars on Guardians after it left the theater. That's the way all movies used to be, right? They really used to make their nut after it left the theater and got onto syndication and television and premium television and video rentals and then video purchases. You had all this windowing. Disney has collapsed all that into theater, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
If you've noticed recently, Josh, what have they been doing? They have been adding back in this separate, like the first one I saw was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania this year.
And then Avatar as well, where they shopped that around before they took it to Disney Plus.
Well, no, that was already under contract because it came from Fox.
Because of Fox? Okay. Yeah.
Fox,
Yeah.
the reason why it was on HBO Max and Disney Plus was because there was a fight over this because Warner had the original contract with Fox before Fox sold to Disney.
They're getting sued over that, by the way.
Yeah, Disney.
Oh,
put it
yeah,
on,
they are. Yeah, I heard
Disney
about that.
put it on Disney Plus, and they were like, "Excuse you?" It's like, I mean, so here's the thing: Disney had to write a check to James Cameron, because Disney couldn't just put it on Disney Plus without Cameron getting paid, because Cameron and Lightstorm would have walked in and go, "Oh, no. My deal was with Fox, and it said this, not you."
Yeah.
You know, they got the distribution rights to theaters because of the Fox acquisition of their theatrical distribution system.
Yeah, so
That doesn't then spill over automatically to Disney then saying, "I'm gonna put it on Disney Plus."
and for the people who aren't aware of the lawsuit, that TSG lawsuit says that, and TSG paid for a portion of the film and paid for a portion of a lot of Fox films. He said that Disney came in after the Fox acquisition and forced Fox to renegotiate contracts that were not in favor of the financiers of the film. So they intentionally took a loss on these films, or intentionally reduced the profitability of these films in order to put them on Disney Plus. And we all see where Disney Plus is now. So.
TSG was, as their, from what we understand, TSG was getting their piece off of like things like what Warner Brothers was going to pay to put it on Max. Well, what did Disney do? Disney said, we're going to put it on Disney Plus too. So then Warner's like, well, then we're going to renegotiate and we're going to pay you less since we don't have it exclusively anymore. So who got screwed?
Yeah,
all the people that financed it, whose money was tied to the original contract, that got shanked by Disney.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of tricky stuff. Yeah. Fun stuff. So it really depends with the Marvels is, I mean, they'll be able to say that it made something, right?
Right.
We don't know what the something is. Now, I happen to think that if you want to know what the Marvels is probably going to look like, look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I don't think it's going to do any better than that.
But I feel like if it does worse than that, I feel like we're at a place where that's going to hurt bad. And the narrative is going to be crazy, because that would make it like, that would literally,
and especially with nothing else in theaters around that time to really give it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the Hunger
Guardians
Games
is the only.
Is the Hunger Games before or after? Hunger Games, I think, is before.
I have no idea.
I think it's before by a week.
I think,
but that would make it like
Dune moved. Dune moving cleared the deck for the Marvels.
Right, exactly.
And that's
where IMAX screens too.
Yeah,
but I just, so like if that movie does, I'd say if it does as well or worse than Quantumania, that's a huge L. Just because that would make this one of the worst years for Marvel Studios, period. You know what I mean? Because the only movie that's even close to profitable is Volume 3.
Guardians, yeah.
But beyond that, they're all rejected by the fans.
Yep.
I mean, like 4 of the worst reviewed episodes of Disney Plus television are 4 of the 6 episodes of Secret Invasion.
Oh, man.
So it's like, this is like a turning point. So I just feel like that's why like I'm so nervous. No, yeah, dude, they beat everything. It's bananas. But yeah, I would say if it makes like 6 or 7, they probably would breathe a sigh of relief. But other than that,
if it's under 4, it is it's catastrophe.
Well, let's stipulate on that, because again, it may have. Let's say it does 150 million in North America, which I would honestly be shocked at this point. I think if it got that far, I think it, like I said, whatever Ant-Man 3 was, that's where it'll be. Maybe it makes another 150 million overseas. I can't see it really. I just don't know. I just get the sense that again, I think that first movie was really propped up by the fact of where it was in the pecking order of the Marvel stuff right before Endgame. And I think it was an anomaly, because I never heard anybody that said, oh, they loved the movie. They just, we went to go see it because it came out before. Yeah, it was like, we went to go see it because it came out before Endgame. It was like, you kind of had to go see it, right? Just like,
they kind of played it up like it was going to connect to like the Infinity Stones, and like, you know, like they did. There were a few trailers, which, by the way, my camera battery just overheated.
I was about to say.
I'll wait a little bit. I'll let it
more
cool
super
down.
chats. We'll get a candle now for Josh as well.
Well, if you go, I was about to say, switch your camera to the off position. That way, at least your icon will come up. What kind of camera are you on?
It's a Sony something or other. I'm not really
sure. An Alpha?
No. It's like one of those little ones, but it's an issue where
like the A7000, the little Alpha series.
Yeah.
You should be able to, if you're on batteries, go get a power supply for it. They
So
make them
We're bringing you a
aftermarket.
couple double A's.
So believe it or not, I have that. I just don't know where it's at. It's somewhere in the
Gotcha.
house.
So
I gotta.
I'm on a Canon R6. Same. I have a power supply in there, but every now and again it gets a little goofy. But it's
Yeah, at about
much better
this
than
time, like
batteries.
2 to 3 hours, it usually goes out, and like, yeah, I'll just let it cool off and put it back.
So,
on.
producer notes here. November 10th is the Marvels. November 17th is Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds.
Okay,
and
so
Snakes.
then
That is
Hunger,
reversed.
Hunger Games is gonna take it from him the week after. So that's what I was afraid of, is which came out first. So that
Yeah.
means the Hunger Games is in the catbird seat, because as soon as that comes out, they're gonna consume the IMAX, the PLFs, and everything else. Now, probably if I had to guess, since Disney originally had that slot for the Haunted Mansion, which they flipped with the Marvels, right? Because that came out this summer and went nowhere. I suspect that, like a typical Disney contract, they probably had at least one of 2 PLF screens in every theater that has them. Think AMC, Regal, Cinemark, Marcus, for at least 2 weekends. That's what Disney usually does. So we get at least one of the 2 PLFs for 2 weekends. So they'll have maybe both PLFs the weekend that the Marvels opens, and then they'll have maybe one of those PLFs the following weekend. Or if they only got one weekend, because originally it was Haunted Mansion, then Captain Marvel may really be up crap creek come second weekend, because when the Hunger Games drops, they may take them all. They may take all the IMAXs, because I have a feeling that Dune was coming out the week before.
yeah, and it was gonna just because they weren't even
Dune
gonna
was
give IMAXs.
absolutely Dune was
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely going to have the IMAXs for 2 weeks, no doubt.
Which is like, I mean, nobody needs to see the Marvels in IMAX. It's not that big of a deal.
Nobody needed to see the Haunted Mansion in PLF or IMAX either. That's kind of my point, is that I don't think Disney would have booked them for that. So I think they're already off the table. So that means it's going to be even worse for them. So kind of like Indiana Jones, they got a week. Captain
Yep.
Marvel's got a week to make that nut, and then it's done.
Unless they move it
Indiana
up,
Jones
I
made
guess.
under 400.
I don't know if they can. Where are you going to move it to? You're talking about either moving it further back or really off the calendar for the year. You're not going any deeper than that.
But
Because Disney already has something in theaters Thanksgiving week, Wish. They're not going to push it up
Okay.
against that.
When's the end of the fiscal year?
September 30th, like in
Okay,
27 days.
so it's already after Disney's end of fiscal
Oh,
year,
yeah.
so they're not worried about it for that. It'll be a long forgotten by the next earnings call.
That's
Here's
true.
the thing. Well, here's the thing. I don't think they want to move. If they move it up any further, right? Because it's coming out. Would you say, Jonas, November what?
10th.
November 10th is Marvels.
Yep.
If they pushed it up into October, like October just became a vacant month thanks to Taylor Swift just wrecking everything, right? They could try to come out like the weekend after Taylor Swift's concert on the 20th. But now what are they doing? If they can book the theaters, let's pretend for a minute, they have to start ramping up marketing when? In the current quarter that we're in, that they absolutely don't want to spend another freaking dime right now. They need to close this fiscal year with as much cash on the balance sheet as they possibly can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They do not want to. I just don't see it. I mean, I know they're spending some money now, but usually the big expense for P&A doesn't happen until like 2 weeks before a movie comes out, and especially the 7 days leading up to it. That's when you start seeing everything everywhere. Go see the Marvels this Friday. Da-da-da-da-da.
Renegade Online.